So let me switch gears a little to another anniversary because this boy, I can just see my mom. She's just going to look at me now. I'm telling you, it's the 20th anniversary of Metal Mood. No more Mr. Nice Guy. And you know what the best part is? I remember he came out in all leather, folks. He goes to the AMA and he's completely in leather. And I tell you what, I never
tattoos and chains.
I wish I had like the cell phone camera back then to take the picture of the people in the room's face because I think it was fantastic. You know, there's so many great moments, and that was one on the Pat Boone legacy. I tell you, what's for me. So I mean, how much of that debate went back and forth, and was Shirley whispering in your ear, like, you know, Pat, is that really what you want to do? I mean, tell me the story behind Metal Mood and you know the AMAs.
I will sure tell you. You asked Shirley, was she whispering or no? She didn't know about it.
Oh boy!
I had not dared tell her because I know she would have been saying, "No, you can't do that, Pat. You can't." And no, it was a total surprise. It was known only to Dick Clark, who was producing the show, and to Alice Cooper and me, because he had asked the two of us. He'd heard my album of heavy metal classics with big band jazz arrangements that was going to be coming out the next day on MCA. And he thought, well, hey, there's going to be a lot of attention to this. I'll have Pat and he thought it would be a hit, which it was. I'll have Pat and Alice Cooper give the award for hard rock heavy metal, and have some fun with the fact that his album of heavy metal is coming out the next day. So Cooper and I both agreed to do what Dick asked, which was to swap images. And he was going to come out in a V-neck sweater and wearing white buck shoes and his long hair combed back under a golf cap and without the black tears down his cheeks and, just being like, and carrying a glass of milk. And I would come out in the heavy metal garb, tattoos, chains, shades, earrings, boots, leather, all of it. And we would swap images to hand out the award for hard rock heavy metal. Well, and it was going to be fun, but it was also going to attract a lot of attention to the record. So the night of, in fact, the hour of the presentation of the award, I was in the dressing room in my tux. I was about to go change into this outfit that Bill Ballou, who had created Elvis Presley's stage outfits for years, had made for me for this appearance with no sleeves, just a sleeveless vest, no shirt, tattoos on both pecs and my arms, and, really looking like a heavy metal apparition. But Cooper hadn't seen that. I was still in my tux, and he wasn't changing into his Boone outfit either. And he said, I'm not going to do it. He said, I'm just not comfortable. I'm just going to go out like I normally do and present the award with you. And I said, but it's not going to make much sense, is it? He said, well, I just don't feel right about coming out carrying a glass of milk and wearing white buck shoes. And I understood, so I didn't tell him, well, I'm going to do my part. So now he goes on ahead of me. Meanwhile, I've gone down and changed into the outfit I've just described.
Oh, my gosh, this is great.
And he doesn't know it, and I'm going to take a little extra delight in shocking the king of shock rock when I walk on stage after he presents me. And he says, I'm waiting back behind the proscenium, and he says, I have seen the past of rock and roll and heavy metal. Now I'm presenting the future of heavy metal, Pat Boone. Now, if I walked out in a tuxedo, that would have made no sense whatsoever. Instead, Dick Clark had sent through the stage manager the word that if I wanted to play with it a little, we had time, I could elongate it a little if I wanted. So when I was introduced, the stage lights went down, looked very dramatic, and I emerged from the shadows, as you saw, stalking. I wasn't walking, I was stalking, and onto the stage with the leather and tattoos and really looking like, I don't know, somebody from Poison or Scorpion or somewhere.
I love Pat's words. I love your words. Heavy metal apparition. That should almost be a shirt. There's your website idea. Go tell your people. Make a shirt on patboone.com that says heavy metal apparition, and it's kind of like a picture of you from that AMA 20th anniversary underneath it. I'd buy one. I'd buy
It
one.
won't be hard to get the pictures because they're there.
They are
But
there.
anyway, now I walked around the corner, and there was something from the orchestra that had sort of foreboding type music.
Yep.
And I walk around, and I look at Cooper, and he's standing there, his jaw hanging open. He hadn't seen how I was going to look. See, he didn't think I was going to do my part. And the sound in the audience was just cacophony. It was like the shot had rung on, or something was happening, and the noise, the tumult in the audience was palpable. And since Dick had said you can play with it, I didn't go to Cooper. I walked over to the edge of the stage and stood there looking at the audience like De Niro in Taxi Driver, saying, "Hey, you got a problem with me?
Yep.
You want a piece of me?"
It was
like
great.
I was daring them. Well, what's your problem? And because and I think what was happening, I can't verify it, but the noise. What was all that noise? It was the younger ones saying, "Who is that? What?" And people saying, "Well, they said it's Pat Boone, but it can't be. That can't be Pat. But well, who is Pat Boone?"
Yep.
Because the younger ones, they didn't know. And so I'm just standing there while all this tumult is happening, and then I walk and I flex my pecs to make the little tattoos dance.
Yep.
And I walked over to Cooper, who's still standing there, just jaw open. And I say, "Cooper, I've done this album of heavy metal classics. It's called No More Mr. Nice Guy, your song." And he looks away like, "What?" Like he's hearing it for the first time. And then he got back on script. He said, "Does this mean I have to sing Love Letters in the Sand?" And I had cued the sound man. When he asked that, crank up whatever effects you have. And when he says, "Does this mean I have to sing Love Letters in the Sand?" I leaned down and said, "That would be nice."
Yep.
And with echo and all kinds of sound. And again, he backed away like, "What's going on?" He hadn't known. Well, then we calm down and we give the award for hard rock heavy metal to Metallica. And they had just heard my version the night before when they were rehearsing. I went over and let them hear Enter Sandman, their famous record.
Yep.
And they loved it because it was big band jazz treating their song as music, as real music. And so they came on stage to accept the award for hard rock heavy metal, and they were bowing. And Ulrich, the drummer, was saying, "Pat Boone's our new lead singer," and Hetfield, the singer, was nodding, "Yep, he's the guy, he's our guy," because I had done Enter Sandman, their song. So it was crazy. Of course, the media went insane, and Dick Clark said later that of all the things they ever did on American Music Awards, including Michael Jackson's Moonwalk and Marilyn Manson's first appearance and Eminem singing with Elton John and all of these things that they had done, nothing ever hit the front page of more newspapers worldwide or was the lead item on all the news television broadcasts that night and following, or the substance of more cartoons and magazines and newspapers all over, everywhere, in many languages, which, of course, I've collected, than that crazy appearance where Pat Boone went heavy metal. Of course, I was kicked off Christian TV immediately, as you know.
Well, we've got to have the the placating to the Christian community is such a challenge these days. It's better now than maybe it was 20 years ago, but yes, it's definitely still a challenge.
Well, they thought, it looked to them, it was so convincing, it looked to them like I'd literally gone over to the dark
side. Some sort of
crazy
crazy gimmick and whatever, and they were not happy about it. Right?
And that I was actually, maybe that they hadn't heard the music.
Right.
If I had recorded heavy metal, was I planning to actually be a heavy metal artist? And so 2 months later, I went on Christian TV on TBN and straightened it all out with 70 Christian bikers parking their hogs and bikes.
That's awesome.
Out in the parking lot at TBN, which never happened before or since. And we played parts of my videos of Enter Sandman and Smoke on the Water on Christian TV to show them there was nothing wrong with the music, particularly as I had recorded it with big band jazz arrangements. Folks thought I was kidding. Some of the music critics thought I was doing a Weird Al Yankovic, making fun of or parodying the music. I wasn't. I was doing some very good songs done a different way with great big band arrangements. and the thing went way up the charts the first week. And really, where it sold the most was in college radio, which was great because the kids, like you then, had grown up with the music and knew all the songs. But what in the world? How has Pat Boone treated these songs with big band jazz? And what was all the clamor about on the AMA Awards? And they went out and bought the album and were requesting it on all the radio programs and went to, I think, number 3 on the college charts, number 6 on the hard rock charts, and not number 1, but I mean way up in the top 5 of almost all the other charts that played pop music. It was even getting played on the Weather Channel.
That's great stuff. That is great. What a great story.
So it was a great breakthrough, and I'm proud of it.
And you should be. What a great story and a moment in music history. And just like I said, you aren't going to hear very many stories, folks, that are going to involve Dick Clark, Alice Cooper, and Pat Boone. We just start there,
and Metallica,
and then it finishes with Metallica. That's just great. That's just great. So